Welcome to the show, IB Nation Sports Talk. We are up and running. I'm Sean Stiers. He is Jesse Stiers. He's got the fancy background, the Notre Dame football field background. Today, we're going to get a little bit salty with salty Virginia peanuts today. If we did an NFL show, we could just start right now going off on the Philadelphia Eagles and how overrated they are. But I guess we don't need to go there, right off the bat yet, huh?
Not quite yet. I think that we got to stick to some Notre Dame breakdown, things that happened from the last weekend. But I'd love to sit here and talk about why the Eagles are being overhyped right now. But that's a discussion for a different day.
That's exactly right. Well, maybe we'll work it into rapid fire later in the week. We, though, are gearing up, and thanks to you for being here, to all our loyal listeners, and thanks to Jesse, of course, for being here as well. We're gearing up for Notre Dame and North Carolina this weekend. Tar Heels are they're kind of becoming a pretty common opponent for Notre Dame. This is going to be the third straight year the Irish have played North Carolina, and it'll be the fourth time in the last 6 seasons as well. So it's like Notre Dame, North Carolina, little sneaky, I won't call it a rivalry, but sneaky little series with the ACC connection, I guess, as Notre Dame goes to North Carolina for the second time in 3 years with this visit coming up this weekend.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the North Carolina game so far. I think that North Carolina's had some good teams that has really tested Notre Dame in their recent matchups, and I think that this week is another good matchup. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think there's going to be a lot of offense, and I think that North Carolina provides issues that Notre Dame's going to have to take care of this week if they want to win.
Smash that like button if you would, to all of our listeners in the YouTube chat right now. Boost us up there a little bit. Hit the like button, rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. We do appreciate it. I think I saw we were over 11,000 total subscribers on YouTube, which is an awesome number. We have got just a ton of stuff we're going to talk about today. We're going to get into, Jesse's got his breakdown of the Fighting Irish linebackers. We're also going to get into what Notre Dame can do, how they can build off that second half of offense, and how they can keep that going throughout this season. We're going to start with linebackers here in a little bit. First, though, North Carolina is a 1.5-point favorite in this game. The over/under 56.5 as well for the game. Seems I'm a little bit surprised looking at those numbers. What do you think about that, Jess?
So you said that over/under is at 56.5. Did I hear that right?
56.5 right now. So a 35-21 score potentially, but again, it's like a 1.5-point favorite. I guess they're just saying North Carolina's got zero defense and they've got a great offense, so we're going to see a lot of points. I don't know.
Yeah, I do like the over. I liked the over last week and lost by 0.5 point. So that
I was going to say, I think I've liked the over every week, and probably, although I guess I got the over actually, now that I think about it, for last week, because I got it, I think, a point lower than what you ended up with it, right?
Yeah, so I ended up at 41.5. I parlayed Cal to cover 13.5, and final score was 41. So I missed the over by 0.5 point on the parlay. You got it at 40.5, so you hit by 0.5 point.
Just got it.
Very fortunate for you. I like the over again this week. I think Notre Dame's going to score a lot of points. I think naturally North Carolina is going to at least score 3 times. And I do like I like Notre Dame to win this game. I would just take the straight money line in this, since the 1.5 is so close. But yeah, I do like Notre Dame, and again, a close game, a shootout, offensive battle, obviously. And I do like the over too. I think that we'll end up around kind of like the 34-31 range, somewhere in that area.
I guess we'll see. We'll see what Notre Dame's offense is made of. And again, we're going to talk about how they can kind of keep that going. I'll be curious to see if the game plan is similar to the Ohio State game plan in terms of ground control, try to keep the ball away from North Carolina. Marcus Freeman was asked that at his press conference yesterday. Of course, he did not want to answer that question, which is understandable. But, North Carolina's got the 4th best scoring offense in the country right now, 51.3 points a game. They've got the number 8 pass efficiency offense, and also ranked 7th in the country in third down conversion, converting 56%. Now, do have to say that their competition has not been what Notre Dame's is. You know, you can talk about Cal and you can talk Marshall. Obviously, Ohio State is going to be better than, you know, probably what 90 some percent of most teams in the country are going to play this year. But they have played Florida A&M, they've played App State, they have played Georgia State, and you know, Appalachian State. Okay, but that was a 63-60 game. That was a basketball score that they had in that game. But Drake May, redshirt freshman, 930 passing yards so far and completing 74% of his passes. Just crazy what he is doing as a redshirt freshman right now for North Carolina. Well, Jess, do you want to talk about Notre Dame's offense first? Like, you know, it's like good news, bad news. Do you want to talk about sort of more good stuff first before we get into linebackers and really dissecting and breaking down some of the linebackers?
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. Definitely have more to talk about defensively and what these linebackers are showing and how things can be improved. So I am good with starting offensively if that's what we would like to do.
All right, let's do it. So we obviously saw, well, second half. Would you agree that the second half was Notre Dame's best half of offense this season so far?
Yeah, it definitely was. You know, the first quarter was really rough. Pine came out. Everyone saw it. You know, everyone's grandmother saw it. You know, botch snaps, low throws, simple. You know, these are just 3-4 yard throws, nothing
Layups.
crazy.
Got to
Yeah,
get the
nice.
layups.
The layups, the extension of the run game. You know, whatever you want to call it. They just weren't hitting those. They got a nice, you know, score right before the half, and then second half they really played their best half of football today. And it really all started with the offensive line establishing their ground, establishing the run game, and things really started to work off of that when, you know, the Notre Dame offensive linemen were pushing guys 1 to 2 yards down the field rather than giving up 1 to 2 yards immediately. And that really was the huge difference throughout the entire game. And predominantly in the second half, the run game started up, then the, you know, a smaller kind of pass worked into it, and then they went back to the run game again. So a lot of things were predicated by them being able to run the ball and physical offensive line play.
What'd you think of the offensive line? You know, again, like still some mistakes in the first half. You know, the offside stuff, what you just stupid mental type stuff. But again, as the game wore on, they really started taking over the line of scrimmage. What'd you think of what you saw from them?
Yeah, I mean, outside, you know, early there was another on the first drive following the, you know, Notre Dame picked up the first down on 3rd and 1, got called back for an illegal formation or false start on Lindsey, I believe. And then it goes back to 3rd and 6. Cal runs their first delayed stunt blitz of the day, and Pine, you know, they run it right up the gut. There's a poor communication once again, you know, easily could have been picked up. And, you know, Pine gets sacked. And I think that was really kind of their not last mistake, but last big mistake of the day, I would say. After that, I really thought that they stepped it up and they started getting that push that we were talking about. They just instead of being, you know, the backboard, they were going out and striking first, getting their hands on the guys and moving, you know, the line of scrimmage 1 to 2 yards forward before the running back was even touching the ball. So I thought that was major, especially when you have a backup quarterback in, when you can establish the run like that. And then you can give, you know, like Jason Garrett mentioned it many times. Pine had beautiful pockets all day to sit back there. And when you have a quarterback who's new, who's trying to get his feet underneath him, giving him time is absolutely what's needed. So I thought the offensive line played fabulous. It's been a great, you know, step up from the first 2 games and definitely what we were kind of expecting the first 2 games. It's just unfortunate it took so long to kind of get to this point.
Right, absolutely. And we saw some different, basically much less 12 personnel, 2 tight end stuff. That didn't come until later in the game when they went to 13, basically. But the first half went a lot of 11 personnel, even a sprinkle of 10, I think once or twice that I saw out there, and some 21 with the 2 running backs, and then just a couple of plays, I think, where they had 12 personnel in the first half. And predominantly, you know, they did more 2 tight end stuff in the second half, but a lot of I like the way, especially basically playing with two running backs, the way they still mixed in the two running back stuff. What did you think of the basically a different looking set of personnel packages than what we've seen so far this year?
I really did like the personnel packages, and it shows that Tommy Rees this week really put together a game plan around Drew Pine and utilizing all of his tools and being able to kind of operate on all cylinders. And when you're able to bring in different formations like that, you really confuse the defense. And if it's stuff, especially if it's stuff you haven't put on tape a whole bunch, you're really going to confuse the defense because they haven't seen it. They're not going to have a perfect kind of formation to come out and line up against the play. So them varying their looks, showing looks that they hadn't shown before, is something that definitely helped them. And like you said, switching between 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 22 personnel, all these different personnels, yet still getting the same things accomplished. It was almost like they still were running basically the same power run schemes, and they were still running majority the same kind of pass concepts. Just a lot of them were out of different formations and different sets to kind of get the defense off their toes a little bit, and looking at things that they hadn't necessarily seen before.
Right. So we saw bigger doses of the running game, obviously, as well. Audric Estime just 1 carry in the first half, but he ended up with 18 carries, 76 yards. And of course, the 1-yard touchdown run. Chris Tyree with a nice game as well, 17 carries, 64 yards. They both got in on the receiving action as well. So the question we're asking here on offense, Jesse, now, okay, you've got a quarterback that you're going to have for a while with Tyler Buckner out. And again, Drew Pine, we talked about it yesterday. Drew Pine did not play well in the first half. He played a little bit better after the fumble, kind of got things going a little bit, led the touchdown drive that led to the pass to Chris Tyree, and then played better in the second half. So what can this offense do now to build off of what they just did against Cal, particularly in the second half as they go forward this season?
Yeah, let me I got some things kind of drawn up here. So let me go to my other screen real quick.
You're not drawing it up in the sand?
No sand this week. I came prepared. I found a little bit better of a software.
All right. Do I need to put this in here?
I think so.
Okay.
There we go. And then let me go like this. And then here we go. So this is the very first play that Notre Dame ran out of the second half. They stopped Cal. This is their first play with their first second half possession. Simple play. This guy is going to run into the flat. Mayer is actually going to come up. Oops. Give me 1 second. Mayer is going to come up and block this guy. But it's just a real nice, simple rollout. Pine's right here. Hits the guy in the flat down here. Easy play. They pick up 3 to 4 yards on first down. Obviously you have 2nd and 6, much more manageable. So, being Tommy Rees, you put this play on film. So what becomes the building block on a play like this?
Well, and what we're talking about here, we should describe this a little bit, because while people watching on YouTube right now can see it, our audio podcast listeners will not be able to see the diagram. So basically what he's talking about, there's a guy in the slot to the left of the formation. He comes in motion across the backfield, kind of a little jet sweep action, and then goes out to the flat on the right side. And Drew Pine rolls out to that side, and that's where he ends up connecting with that, correct?
Yeah, very similar to the very first play that Notre Dame ran to start the game, where the play was dropped, or Pine kind of threw it at the feet. They went back to it to start the second half, yet this time they complete it. And so the building block off of this play, like we were talking about, is this guy is going to come down into here, and there's a couple things that if I were Tommy Rees, you could start looking at. First is you want to create a levels concept where you can release. Whoops, I still have the DB selected. Sorry, give me 1 second. Where Mayer, instead of blocking this guy, can come out, and then you create a concept where you have the shorter intermediate route, and then you have the kind of little bit longer downfield route, and then to build off of that. And this is something universal that I would like to see Tommy Rees do now, is when this guy comes into the flat, instead of throwing it, we pump fake it and we get vertical up the sideline. And I think that that's a big play that's eventually going to have to hit for Notre Dame, is because if you keep hitting this small thing underneath here in the flat, eventually, you get a guy to bite off on a pump fake and he's up the sideline. That's a perfect play for someone like Tyree, who can use their speed up the sideline. It doesn't matter because, say you have two running backs in this running back could still run this, up and out. And then you could have Mayer kind of run back this way if you want to clear it out this whole side. So that, in my opinion, is something that is a huge building block for this offense, is utilizing this flat play, short plays, keep hitting it. And then eventually you want to start working your way downfield. So then teams kind of, they're going to naturally be creeping up. You hit them with a pump fake, and then you kind of get behind them on what's going to be a more downfield play.
Yeah, and they're going to have to. And I mean, when you look at what happened last week, like just what you diagrammed right there is virtually, well, not even virtually, every pass that Drew Pine completed. I think the longest pass that he completed was something like 10 or 15 yards downfield on the touchdown pass to Chris Tyree. Everything else on average was within a line of the yard, a yard of the line of scrimmage, either backwards or forwards. It's obviously some stuff coming out of the backfield. So you're absolutely right. And that's something that this offense, just what you mentioned there, where maybe you pump and, you kind of got to pump and go or whatever action you want to call it. There's been a lack of double moves by the receivers. We have not seen a whole lot of that. And so for this offense to be able to open up, Drew Pine doesn't have the arm that Tyler Buckner has, but that doesn't mean he has a weak arm. He can still get it downfield a little bit. They're going to have to do something to make the offense more vertical. Otherwise, everyone's just squatting on everything. Again, like when you want to run the ball and you're showing 12 personnel, you have to show that you can also get it downfield, or else you're going to be in trouble because everyone's just sitting on everything, down in the flats and taking everything away. So I like that concept that you're talking about there. And that's stuff, again, it's going to have to help open up the offense at some point as this offense continues to evolve under Drew Pine.
Yeah, definitely. And here's another play that I think, I have a series of 3 plays here that I really kind of want Notre Dame to build off of. So this is play 2. This is a run scheme. Notre Dame's come out and what looks like 13 personnel. They have 2 tight ends on the end line of scrimmage. And then Mayer is kind of an up back or an H back. And then they have one wide receiver split out towards the field side. This play actually this was a power run scheme. This went for, I want to say, at least 6 or 7 yards. A very good run by Estime here. But this is another play where I think Tommy Rees can get real creative here just because of the motion that he's using with Mayer. So Mayer pre-snap is here on the high snap
to
of
the
ball.
left.
Yeah, to the left on the snap
as
of the
a
ball.
wing.
As a wing, he comes across the line of scrimmage and he's trying to cancel out this backside defensive end, linebacker, hybrid, whatever you want to call this guy over here. His job is to seal him off, and they're going to run right through here. This tight end's going to kick this guy out. This guy is going to get kicked out by the tackle. Guard's going to take this guy. So really all it comes down to is the running back and the linebacker in the hole. This DB is actually going to come down too. But what I like off of this play is, okay, Mayer comes over here. He seals it on this play. We hand it off. Okay, let's play action here because we just got 6 or 7 off the run up to this side. Let's run Mayer now down into this flat. Okay, and then also what we can look at then is running this guy on a shallow kind of post over in this area of the field. So now we've cleared out this. We have Mayer coming across formation. He's going to probably be one-on-one with this defensive back or this linebacker, whoever's taking him, and someone's going to be open. If Mayer's not open, this wide receiver now has a one-on-one matchup going across the middle of the field because remember, this DB has to step down and honor this run. These linebackers.
And you're talking about a deep safety there when you're saying this DB.
Yeah, deep safety.
Again, you're doing your Jason Garrett, TV telestrator. We got to do a little radio play-by-play here as well for
That's
people
true.
who can't see it.
So these linebackers are getting sucked up, like I said, because of this run action. He's coming in through here, and so then I like that play of Mayer potentially leaking out here, and this wide receiver coming across here. Another thing that I like.
Hold on. So let me just kind of sort of paraphrase this. So you've got a play action, you've got a running back set off to the right of Pine, who's in the shotgun. You're going to play action to the left, and you've got Mayer lined up as a wing to the left. You're gonna motion him across the backfield and then out to the opposite flat as maybe he kind of down blocks a little bit on the defensive end first, and then pops out there to the flat on the right side. And then in the meantime, you've got the receiver out there to the right. Maybe Braden Lindsey is out there and he's running a deep post as Mayer comes in shallow across that side.
Yeah, and so that's just another nice concept. Again, something Notre Dame likes to do is getting these players out in the flat, another short pass for Pine, getting it to your biggest target, and eventually you can hit this with a pump fake down in the flat, and then that post route can be open one-on-one towards the middle of the field. That's
Gotcha.
That's one thing that's nice out of this. There's so many things you can do out of this formation. You could leak, instead of having Mayer come across the formation, he could leak outside to this flat. You could run this running back on a screen, and then the far side field wide receiver now on a slant instead. And so you've created two short, all short intermediate passes for Pine here. And basically all you're looking for is, who's going to be open, who's the guy that's open right now. Get Pine to get the ball out of his hand quick. But again, another just nuance to this play, and it helps that they've established the run on this already. You pick up 6 to 7. Everyone has to respect the run, and then you start leaking out your tight ends and running backs on some shorter intermediate routes, and I think things can easily get open for them.
All right. Good stuff. I like that.
Okay. Last one, offensively.
Okay.
This was another play. Okay, so this is 11 personnel, middle of the field, 2 wide receivers to the right, 1 wide receiver to the left, tight end to the left, Pines in shotgun, and the running back is offset to the right.
Now I just want to kind of confirm here. This is stuff you saw them do, right? Like these are actual plays you saw them do.
Oh yeah, these 3 plays are plays that they've done. What I'm doing is showing how they can
do stuff off those plays.
Yeah, line up in the exact same play and kind of show different looks off the same plays that already had success.
Okay,
which is key because they've had success. Teams are going to be preparing for one play, and then you kind of hit them with some slight twists, and things might be a little bit more open. So again, we're in 11 personnel. Tight end to the left, 1 split out wide receiver to the left, 2 split out wide receivers to the right. They motion Lindsey down to the line of scrimmage, so he eventually sets as a wing behind this tight end. The deep safety on that side walks down to respect that, and then on the hike of the ball, Lindsey sneaks again across into the flat. Another basic concept that Notre Dame was running was getting these guys into the flat, play side field, so Pine can roll out to his right and easily hit him. What I like here instead is still put this guy in the flat, maybe run this guy on a slant back this way, run this guy up and out on a post. So now you've created, again, another concept where you have another play underneath. You have the post going out to the sideline one-on-one. And then you sneak this tight end kind of on a flood route behind things. And it makes everyone kind of have to, pick a hat on someone. This guy's going to be one-on-one. The linebacker play side where the motion is coming is going to have to take this wide receiver into the flat. So now you have this wide receiver, getting a one-on-one matchup with the linebacker going across the middle. And so these, again, just another concept of, plays that I think Notre Dame could build off of, just slight alterations in order to get guys even more open and establishing, plays off of plays that already had success. I think that's the biggest thing, is these plays and formations had success. So how can we build off of them and get, just a little bit more yards? Because to be quite honest with you, what I'm scared of is it's not hard to cover these plays in the flat, as a defense. It's not hard to do that. So eventually teams are going to make Pine go deep. They're not going to give them these short routes anymore. And so Tommy Rees needs to know that, and going forward kind of do things what I'm showing here of finding to get guys one-on-one more downfield, get a couple pump fakes in, and hopefully hit a guy in one-on-one coverage.
Yeah, and I think that like you talk about, they're not going to be able to just keep going to that short stuff all the time. Eventually, you've got to be able to stretch the defense, and that's something that was like an Ian Book thing. There were some issues with that. Part of that was his unwillingness, to just to put the ball downfield and throw guys open and that kind of thing. So, that's where I'll be curious to see, one, what Drew Pine's willingness is along those lines, but two, again, like, that's why it was so important that Drew Pine was able to hit that stuff, just to get him going, to show that he could at least do that, because now it does. Marcus Freeman said after the game that what we saw against Cal wasn't necessarily going to be the game plan going forward, but it was what they needed to do to beat Cal that day. And so I think we're basically going to see a different script based on what the opponent is on a week-to-week basis throughout this season. But the ability to be imaginative and to run what you're talking about, different concepts off the same plays, is going to be really important, I think, for Tommy Rees and Drew Pine in this offense.
Yeah, I think the main thing that it's going to help with, like I said, is teams are going to prepare for one play on film. They see, okay, this is the formation. Based on this formation, we know they like to run this play or this tendency, and then boom, you hit them with something that they haven't really seen yet. And I think it can go a long way of just catching a lot of teams off guard and surprised a little bit.
Right. All right. So is that it for the offense then?
That is it for the offense. I have left my main juice for these linebackers who have not been playing well. It is bad. I went back and watched the entire first half, predominantly looking at the run plays, and it's honestly just simple, basics, elementary of playing linebacker. And I really don't. It's hard to say that because it's not boiling down to a skill thing. It's predominantly just play recognition and getting to where they need to be in a timely manner. So
it's baffling to me because this was a pretty good group of linebackers last year. Now obviously you don't have Drew White in the mix anymore. You've got JD Bertrand, but you've got the guy who was your leading tackler last year in Bertrand. And then you've got Maris Leofau, who was the story of camp until he broke his ankle, but he looks nothing like that guy. Tell you what, before we talk about the linebackers, Marcus Freeman at the press conference yesterday was asked about the linebackers. He was asked to evaluate the current group of guys who are out there, and also he was asked where the young guys are in terms of their development, because there's some really good young talent at linebacker on this team. So I'll play that. We'll hear what Marcus Freeman has to say about both the young guys and the veterans, and then we'll kind of jump in with more on that.
Sneed is still a little bit, Sneed and Ziegler probably are still a little bit away. Right now they're on scout team, but Junior played a little bit on Saturday. I can see him getting more and more reps, and Prince Kali is another guy that to me will continue to get more and more reps as we move forward. But those opportunities come from practice, and that's been my challenge to those guys that might not aren't playing as much as they want. What are you doing in practice? If you're making mistakes in practice, then coach is going to play guys when it matters the most in those close games, the guys they trust the most. And so those guys got to continue to gain that trust in practice. But they're extremely talented players that I know will help us. How soon, we'll see. As far as the linebacker play, to Maris, still, he's coming back from an injury. We're still trying to be smart in terms of how much we rep him. You look at Kaiser, who's moving from Rover to, at times we're a nickel team. He's playing inside linebacker, so he's still getting adjusted. JD Bertrand's been solid, but obviously he'll be out for the first half of this game. And so overall, again, I've been pleased overall. Is there a lot to improve at? Absolutely. And that goes for every level of defense, from D-line and linebackers to the DBs. But, overall, I've been pleased with the group. I think we all have room to grow.
He said, I think we all have room to grow there at the end. That's kind of what he mumbled as he finished it off. The room to grow part, and there is definitely room to grow for this unit. Let's just start with Maris Leofau, Jess, because he's the one I've been shocked by, because I think pretty much everyone who saw him during fall training camp last year and saw what he was turning into, and then have seen his play so far this season, have been surprised at the lack of production that Marist has had. And you just follow that big bouncing hair around out there. But he's got 12 tackles, a half tackle for loss. What do you think about Liufau, and where is he, right? Like Marcus Freeman, he's talked a lot about, well, he's still coming back from the injury. I mean, it's not like he's limping around out there after that broken ankle last year. He just doesn't look like, he's fully there, kind of what you said, recognizing things and stuff like that. What do you see when you watch Maris Liufau?
I don't want to speak negatively about these people, so I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there first. Maris did not have a good game on Saturday, especially the first half. I think out of the linebackers, you could say that he has played the worst when it comes to making the right reads, making his fills, getting to where he needs to be. And I think something that was interesting in that Marcus Freeman, press conference, some things that he said is, you can lose trust, that you got to show that you can be trusted during practice. Well, Maris Liufau could not be trusted the entire first half of that game when it came to play recognition. So it's really surprising that they left him in there for that long, because it was, once I go through these plays, it's very simple stuff. It's right in front of his face. I'm honestly sometimes confused about like what he's looking at, because it's all happening right in front of his face. And if he's, if the ankle is still bothering him, then he doesn't need to be out there. If that's the case, that, to me, it doesn't look like it has anything to do with any physical limitations. It just seems that he's mentally breaking down and not recognizing plays that at the level and at the speed at which he should. And to say that, for Marcus Freeman to say that he's pleased with the linebacker group, I think that the linebackers are getting carried by the defensive line in some respects, because if the defensive line didn't blow up some of these plays against Cal, these run plays would still be running today. I mean, there were times, 2-3 times, where the linebackers just completely blew the play, and they got lucky that the defensive line bailed them out and kind of swallowed them up. So to go back to your question, Maris just looks lost right now. And I would say of the, Bauer, Bertrand, Kaiser, Maris, he looks the worst of the four, and it's not really close in my opinion.
I just don't see, we obviously saw the defensive line take disruption to another level, especially for this season, in the second half Saturday against Cal. We just haven't seen, like, if the defensive line is that destructive, there should be opportunities for linebackers to make plays as well, but we just haven't seen it. So specifically in that game, we didn't see it. It was all the sacks came from the defensive line, and you're talking about defensive tackles who who you don't necessarily, especially, you don't see them necessarily being the guys in on the tackles all the time, but they are some of the top tacklers on this team right now, especially like when you talk about Howard Cross and Jacob Lacey. What that tandem is doing inside has just been incredible. And again, the way they have played, there should be more opportunities for the linebackers to be making plays, but they're just not making them right now.
Yeah, and I wish, that I've told you this before the show. This would be awesome if I could just pull up the live clip and I could walk through it so much easier, and you could see things live time. But doing it like this, there's so much that you kind of have to set up and try to be able to explain. But I'll try my best to kind of articulate that point. And,
so do I need to put another one in there, or?
Yeah, throw it back.
Go ahead and put it in there. Okay.
So this is Cal's first offensive play of the entire game. First thing I want to point out, under center, I said last week, if they're under center, they're probably going to run the ball 80, 85, 90% of the time. You guys told me if that hold true. I thought that held true based on what I was watching throughout the game. But first play, And this is
just to back that up, I was charting that, and like early on, basically the entire first half, there were maybe 2 plays where they went, basically went a different direction where, like, they would be under center, maybe they came back and play action passed, or vice versa, where they were in the shotgun and they ran the ball almost all the time. Now they tried to kind of go off script a little bit more in the second half, but just like you said, it was probably in the 85 to 90% range. If it was under center, it was going to be a run play. If it was shotgun, it was going to be a pass play.
So that's why I'm so confused. First off, with someone like Maris, is you have to know that under center, you should be thinking, first step up no matter what every time. You should be thinking run until proven, otherwise. So that's just kind of pre-snap what's going in my head as a linebacker. So this is where Maris would be. For the listeners, we have quarterback under center. We have a wide receiver split out to the left, 2 wide receivers split out to the right, and then a flex back behind the tackle on the left side. Pre-snap, the number 2 wide receiver on the right side of the field motions down to the right tackle. And then on the hike of the ball, this is Cal's favorite scheme. They run 2 pullers, wing and usually their guard, right up through the hole. So what's happening, first of all, is the wing that motioned down, he's kicking out the defensive end on the right side. The right tackle and guard are coming down on this tackle. And this right tackle is going to look to combo up to this linebacker. And then we have the left guard and the flex back pulling to the right, coming right off the right tackle's butt up the hole. So this play is happening right in front of Maris' face, right here. He should be looking at this guy pre-snap. First step he sees, he's pulling.
He's reading the guard. Linebacker's first read is what the guards are doing.
Correct. So immediately he should see, on the snap of the ball, his first step should be down and to his left here a little bit. This linebacker needs to immediately shoot this gap as hard as he can. He needs to meet this guy at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield. You hope to get line of scrimmage. Best case scenario, you meet him in the backfield. You keep your outside arm free, so you're forcing the play back to Maris, who should be working over the top and also filling into this hole at the same time. These 2 guys need to be converging down in the hole as these pullers are coming through. So the flex guy kicks out, ends up having to kick out the defensive end. This linebacker fills down immediately, gets in there. So he makes, play side linebacker makes the right read. Maris is caught by, I don't even remember who at this point, but Maris gets caught right here to the left side of the center, 2 yards behind the ball as the running back is running through the hole. I don't know about you, but that is not good linebacker play. To not even make it over the face of the center is kind of embarrassing when the puller is pulling right in front of your face. Like I said, your first step immediately downhill to the left. We're getting over there. You're playing back phase shoulder of this running back just in case he decides to cut back, but he gets caught up 2 yards down, behind the line of scrimmage. And this play runs right through here, and I believe they gain about 4 or 5 yards on the play.
Go back for just a second, because I think it might have been back during training camp. You didn't have your diagram here, and you were trying to explain the triangle that a linebacker, the responsibility. So from Marist, start the triangle with him. Just draw the triangle that would be Maris Leofau's responsibility, for who he's reading and what his responsibility is on that side.
Yeah, so this is Maris. His triangle is going to come down to here and here. I guess you could, kind of like
That's
that.
Not really a triangle.
It's he's looking at.
So you're saying the triangle needs to be. Can you get rid of those lines? So his triangle goes back to the running back, basically on his side. Yes.
Just like that.
There you go.
Nice triangle. H-back is your least of concerns. These are the 2 guys that you're really looking at. And like I said, first, it was instant. Hike of the ball. That guard is out of there ASAP. That's right in front of Maris's face. Immediately, he needs to be stepping down here. This linebacker needs to come down into here. This linebacker is getting, sealed off by this guy, but he could fold his way down in here as well. So yeah, this play gets funneled right to Maris. Unfortunately, Maris gets met about right here over the center, 2 yards deep. And that's just no good. That's just lateness, not reading your keys. I mean, it's all right in front of you. They're under center, so we're talking 85% chance of run. Everything is screaming run, yet he's 2 seconds behind somehow.
Right. And that's it. DT Roll Hunter said reminds him of Jalen Smith, and I'm assuming he's talking about NFL Dallas Cowboys Jalen Smith, because Jalen, and you and I are Cowboys fans, and so we watched a lot of Jalen over the last couple of years, and we watched his play go backwards. It just seemed like he completely lost his instinct and, any ability to make a quick decision on where he was supposed to be going on simple stuff like you're talking about right now. Would you say that there's a similarity?
Yeah, this is like elementary, this is why I'm so confused why Freeman can say that Maris is playing well. He's not playing well. If he can't make this read with a pulling guard right in front of his face, you can't tell me that Maris is playing well. So, just very, very, I think he's overthinking it. I'm not quite sure. But this is play one of about a 5-play sequence that I have. So we're gonna move on to the next one. Cal, this is funny. So Cal goes 3 and out, and then on their ensuing possession, play number 5 that they've run. So second down on drive 2, they come out and run the exact same play. This play right here. Why wouldn't they? They just ran it for 6 or 7. Why not run it again? So this time, what do we think happens? Okay. Ball is handoff. These are just my notes because everyone knows now where everyone's supposed to be. I'm just going to kind of go through my notes. Ball is handoff. Both linebackers are engaged both linebackers their heels are at 4 yards deep from the line of scrimmage, about where I have them right here. At the snap of the ball, 24 linebacker meets the puller. And then Maris is still at 4 yards with a wide open lane, and that makes the tackle at 5 yards deep. So what I'm saying is this linebacker comes down into here, does his job, and this lane, I wish we could, like I said, show this, but a bus could drive through here with this lane going on.
It was big. I remember it. Yeah.
And Maris, instead of cutting it down about right here, somehow cuts straight down the line, and the running back gets tackled for about right here, about 5 yards. Exact same play that they just ran not even 5 minutes ago. Again, guard pulling right in front of Maris' face, and again, he just doesn't recognize it and makes the tackle 5. Doesn't even touch the running back until 5 yards down the field. That's just beyond unexcusable. And again, this linebacker filled. He did his job. He created, the play was supposed to be funneled right back into here to Maris. The tackle is there, but he meets him at 4 and then falls forward for another yard and picks up 5 easy yards. Easy yards.
Yeah. Jacob says he loves the analysis. Imagine if we could use actual game footage. That would be beautiful if we could. Jesse would love that as well. But because of copyrights and all that good stuff, we can't quite go that direction. But, it's just, again, it's baffling because these are simple rules of being a linebacker, like an inside linebacker.
These are what you learned
in college. Yeah. And just again, to remind everybody, Jesse was basically a middle linebacker his whole life, played in college and all that kind of stuff. So it's something that he has a lot of experience with. He obviously didn't play at the same level as these guys, but all the reads and the
concepts are still the same.
That's right. That's exactly right. The technique, the concepts, the reads, they're all the same, regardless of what level you're playing at. So it's all pretty basic stuff. Let me ask you this before you go to the next one, because they have been, going back into training camp, there was a lot of cross training. So you had, like Jack Kaiser would play inside, and we've seen Jack Kaiser, move from rover to inside in certain situations. And we've seen Maris Leofau go from inside to outside. So, like they've cross-trained all these different linebackers, so they're playing different positions, and they're kind of mixing and matching based on situation. Again, so like, 1 minute Leofau might be the rover. The next minute, it might be Kaiser who's the rover. And they're moving these guys around. Do you think it's too much to be constantly bouncing these guys and all these different responsibilities that they've had to learn? Like, is it too much that they're playing multiple linebacker positions with different sets of responsibilities in every game? How much do you think that can impact them?
That's you bring up a good point, but I don't think it's necessarily as big of a influence as you might think. I think the main difference between the linebacker positions really in this defense and a lot of defenses is your run responsibilities, and that I guess what changes based on linebacker position is your pass coverage responsibilities, because you're going to be more of an inside backer, or you're going to be a backer kind of closer to the perimeter to these wide receivers. So you're going to have more pass coverage responsibilities as a outside linebacker compared to an inside linebacker, but your run reads are all predominantly the same. You're reading the same triangle depending on what side you're lined up on. So to me, I don't think that there is a huge disadvantage to these guys. I actually like the fact that they're able to cross train like that because of, if someone gets hurt, they can interchange those guys. But mainly, between the different positions of linebacker, really all you're talking about is different kind of coverage responsibilities. But these main inside guys, they're all looking, predominantly at the same reads and the same triangles. So could it hurt them? Yes, but I don't think it's ultimately what is like the knife in the back right now. I don't think it's the major issue.
So basically, like the Will and the Mike, again, like you go back to that triangle, the Will linebacker, his triangle is going to be on one side of the line of scrimmage, or one side of the center, and for did I say the Will already? The Mike is going to be on one side, the Will is going to be on the other, and the rover just has a different set of responsibilities because he's got
more pass coverage, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think if we're talking rover to inside linebacker, yes, I think it could get a little bit muddy. But when we're talking Mike and Will, not 100%. And I think another thing, we talk about offensive line communication. These linebackers need to communicate too, because as soon as Maris or whoever sees this guard pulling away, immediately he needs to be saying, pull, because this guy knows, okay, linebacker's pulling towards me. I shoot down immediately. This other linebacker's over the top. We combo this running back in the hole, and it's game over. It's like that's bread and butter. If you play linebacker, this is the kind of scheme. Cow scheme is what you look forward to, because you can make a lot of tackles, and they're telling you where the play is going to go. Anytime there's a puller or this guy comes this way, they're telling you where the play is going to go. So just use your eyes and trust your instincts. And I think that might be the big issue right now.
Okay.
This play was, I want to say third drive, maybe third or fourth drive by Cal. They were on their own 25-yard line, and they actually blow this play up for about a loss of 5 or 6, and it becomes second down and 16. And this play was done really well. So we have two wide receivers split out to the right. We have a up back or flex back also split out to the right just behind the tackle. And then we have a tight end at the end of the line of scrimmage on the left. This is the flex back pulls towards the tight end. And what he's going to do is kick out this defensive end who's coming up the line of scrimmage. And then immediately Maris shoots this gap. This was like his best play of the game when we're talking run defense. He shoots this gap. This linebacker comes over the top. Everything gets all congested, and they get the running back down back here for a loss of 5. And that's just, again, they saw the pull. They immediately shot their gap, and look what happened. Loss of 5. Just real easy, nice play, what they should have been doing, honestly, the entire game. So this one they did right. It was really enjoyable to see. A good play to start off on first down. You get Cal second and long, and then, you can kind of drop back and sit into a little bit more coverage. So that was one play that the linebackers actually did really well. That was about the only play that they did well run-wise. Again, under center here, 2 wide receivers to the left, 1 wide receiver to the right, and then 1 flex back up to the right. Again, guard over Maris here, pulls to the right side, comes up the hole. The flex back kicks out the defensive end. And I have in my notes here, both linebackers play side and backside. So this right tackle moves up to linebacker, guard comes through. Both of these linebackers get touched at 3 yards deep. So that means at the hike of the ball, they're 4 yards deep. and they only gain 1 yard before these linemen and pullers are on them. They're already being touched at 3 yards. Again, all this needs to happen is this linebacker needs to come down. This linebacker needs to come down in here in the hole. But this linebacker gets caught up again. Both of them are caught up at 3 yards. And again, another easy run for Cal and just another basic kind of scheme.
Interesting.
And then
what do you think? Let me ask you something, not necessarily regarding plays. What do you think about the way they, either block destruct or avoid blockers? How would you kind of rate what you've seen along those lines?
Oh, that's another issue. Is these guys they don't have a good strong initial contact, and the thing is they're not doing things like you see Micah Parsons and you see these elite linebackers and edge rushers. How do they do it? They don't get touched. They contort their body. They dip down underneath. They're getting past these big offensive linemen. Notre Dame linebackers seem to just want to meet these guys head on and then not really put a move on them. They're just content with just getting blocked almost. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy that, these linebackers get met by these tackles and pulling guards, but rather than use some sort of block destructor, a dip and rip, or a swim, you're not really taught to swim as a linebacker, but just something to, dip your shoulders down and maybe get a block in the back or a holding. They're just not doing it. They're not getting off blocks. Their block destructs aren't good. And I just not good overall.
I was a point guard in my previous life, so with the setup for Jesse on that. I mean, it's something again, just watching that is frustrating when you see linebackers who are too willing to just accept the block, rather than do what you're talking about, blow up that block and cause a little, cause some chaos, cause some havoc.
If you're going to get blocked, you might as well just blow the guy up so at least someone can trip on him. You can create something there in the hole. But the last thing you want to do is just get stuck on a block. And that's Notre Dame linebackers after first point of contact are not good at getting off of first point of contact. Once they are met, they're pretty much done. And I like what Jacob said here, and that's why I'm frustrated as well off of – I had not heard what Freeman said yet, but it like Freeman and I can't be watching the same tape because his linebackers are playing horrible. And if they're making these kind of mistakes, which are elementary, freshman mistakes, why not put your freshmen out there? I guarantee that they're more athletic and get, can block destruct and get past these linemen a little bit better than what's being shown right now. So I think that it's a cover up and he knows that there's a lot to work on. But yeah, it's bad. And I'm going to
remember his last line was, "We all have room to improve." So I think that everything came before that was, there's a lot of room to improve is the bottom line. And we've seen it every Saturday so far. It's distressing because the guy who's in charge of this group, of course, is the defensive coordinator, and he's also a guy who just got done coaching linebackers for the AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals, who went to the Super Bowl last year. And they had some really good linebackers, Logan Wilson.
That's where there's got to be a disconnect because I'm almost like these guys have to be taught these things. They're just not executing on their end. So it's very confusing. It's not promising, but hopefully that they can start fixing some of these things up. And there's one last play I want to go through. I know I've taken up a lot of time here, but we really wanted to talk about the linebackers today.
It's all right. Everyone's eating it up.
I wanted to talk about this play because this is an actual play where they ran out of their shotgun look. So they go middle of the field, 2 wide receivers to the left, a tight end to the right, and a wide receiver split out to the right, and then a quarterback in shotgun, and then the running back off to his left. So we're in 11 personnel. Again, real simple concept. Guard pulls to the right. The tight end kicks out the defensive end. The right tackle and right guard come down on the defensive tackle, and so the left guard is pulling through the right side hole. He's going to come meet this linebacker. Again, this linebacker just needs to see this immediately, and this is why the communication is important because this guy seeing the puller out of the corner of your eye on this side compared to seeing a puller right in front of your face on this side is huge. As soon as this guy sees pull, he needs to be screaming, pull, 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 pull. This guy is coming down into the hole, and then he's coming down again. And here the combo should be a nice, easy play. But what happens here, this is 44's first play of the game, and it was not a good play of the game. He gets Maris was
That's
doing
Junior Tui Alamaka that
yes.
you're talking about.
So Junior comes in, replace Maris, only because I'm assuming Maris has been horrible. So they said, what do we have to lose here? Let's put Junior in. Well, Junior doesn't do much better himself. The play side linebacker shoots the hole. Junior gets caught about 4 yards deep over the center again. He doesn't even make it to this side of the field. And then the running back runs through here. It looks like it's swallowed up, cuts it back about this way for about 13 yards and gets tackled. I'm sure you might remember that play. It was one of their bigger run plays. It was bottled up. Again, Junior was just, I don't know what he was doing because he should be right here. That thing should be swallowed up. But again, he's far off. He's lagging. He's over the center. He's too deep, 4 yards deep at the point of contact. And that running back just cuts it in right behind him, and they go for 13 yards. So again, it's not a matter of the player. They're all making the same mistake, and they don't have issues with this front side linebacker shooting the gap. They have the issue with the backside linebacker coming over the top and filling as well. They're just getting too caught up back here. So I don't know if it's a technique thing or what's going on, but angles. I'm not sure what it is, but again, Cal runs the same concept the whole game. It was there the whole time. They pulled these guards, and if this H-back was there, they would pull with them, and it was the same thing every single time. So that's my analysis of the linebackers. I think that they have all the tools to make the right play. They're just not reading it. They're not getting to their spots. There's no pre-snap recognition. There's no looking at their triangle and immediately taking that first step. Because as soon as you see that guard pull, your first step should be downhill fast. And it just doesn't seem to be what Maris is doing. I don't know if he's just not seeing things as fast as he would like to, if he's overthinking things. And another thing I noticed too with Maris kind of going through the game is even pre-snap, he would still kind of be moving, looking to his left and right, and then the ball would be hiked and it would kind of catch him off guard. So I think those are another thing that has to be kind of taken into consideration is I just don't know pre-snap if he's all there, if he trusts, his alignment, the alignment of the defense, and then to add on top of that, making his reads in a split second.
Yeah, interesting. Who do you put at the top of the list? Who's played the best of the group so far? I know it's a tough question because you're basically saying that they all make the same mistake. So
yeah, I mean, to me, it comes down to Bertrand and Kaiser. I thought both of them have played well, and the times that they've been asked to kind of line up in coverage as well, there was a good play. I get them mixed up. Is 27?
27's Bertrand, Kaiser's 24.
Right. Okay. So I would say Kaiser's playing the best out of the group right now. Bertrand does better in coverage. There was a play that Plummer kind of should have hit on one of their opening earlier possessions where running back, I think, had one-on-one with a linebacker on the edge. He did a good job in coverage, which is hard. Asking a linebacker to cover in space like that is really hard one-on-one. So I've liked more out of Bertrand I like more of what Bertrand is doing pass-wise, but I like Kaiser in the run game more.
Do you think that Leofau would make, like if you just move Kaiser inside full-time and Leofau wasn't part of that, would he be better as a rover? Or, like a guy who's kind of stuck out to me a little bit the last couple of games is Ramon Henderson when he's come down and played a little bit, number 11, like thinking about him as a rover type guy. He seems like he's done better in, kind of like Drew Tranquil when they first moved him from safety to rover, better closer to the line of scrimmage type stuff than playing deep.
Yeah, I do think Ramon Henderson is someone that they could look to walk down when teams kind of come out and tight personnel, 2 tight ends, because then obviously you're going to walk a guy down to be in run support, but then you can have him also on the back end for some sort of pass support. And honestly, if to me, it comes down to right now the linebackers who should be playing are the guys who are making the read and getting to where they need to be. And really that's it, because, these guys aren't getting to their final destination in time. And to me, just being there is half the battle, because the running back either has to make a move or he's trying to run through you, or, something's running back has to alter his course if you're in the right spot. So it's to me, the guys who should be playing are the guys who are getting to their designated spot on the field, as in a timely manner as they're supposed to. So for someone like Ramon Henderson, a guy who's got a little bit more athleticism and could be a dual kind of linebacker in coverage, I do like him, and I do like bringing him closer to the line of scrimmage because he can help out and run, but then he's got the safety net of having that kind of defensive background where he can
still
recover.
Move in space.
Yeah, he can recover if he needs to at a higher rate.
Yep. All right. Great breakdown once again tonight, Jesse.
I always feel like I go too long, so I hope everyone was an enjoyment. I feel like I could talk forever, and I do talk forever sometimes.
Hey, it happens. That's what a podcast is for. That's what you're here for, to give us the breakdown. So a lot of really good in-depth stuff with the linebackers there that we had tonight. And I tell you what, it's rapid fire time. Are you ready for it?
Oh yeah, we went so quick. It's already rapid fire time.
I know. That's right. So let's start with this. What record does Notre Dame need to end up with at the end of the season for this to feel like a successful end after an 0-2 start?
For me, I think after starting 0-2, a successful season would look in the realms of kind of the 8-4 record. Maybe even 9-4 record after pulling off a bowl win. Obviously, you always want to end the season with a bowl win, but I think a regular season finale, I think that they should get 8 wins and then get their 9th win with a bowl game, and I would consider that a successful season. And I think if you want to get real particular, a super successful season would be hitting double-digit wins again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Obviously, if you can get the double-digit wins, then that does it. I think minimal, like if you can get to 8-4 from where you are right now after starting off 0-2, if you can get to 8-4 in the regular season, and then you are in a bowl game and you end up with a 9-4 record, I think that would be pretty good because, I mean, BYU lost last week, but there are not going to be many games, I think, and I think you can say this after losing to Marshall, there are not going to be many games that you can look at on this schedule and go, that's a given. There just aren't too many at this point. And so I think if you get to 8-4 and you have a chance to win a bowl game at the end of the season, then you can feel pretty good about it. Now, because like we've got some people chiming in, 8 is realistic, 7 understandable, 6 there are big issues, and I would probably agree with what Stymie said.
Yeah,
right,
I like
there.
that assessment.
Yeah, 6 there are big issues, and they've got to be an above 500 team. I think like he's probably right, even 7 at this point, because BYU is not going to be a pushover, and then you've got Clemson and you've got USC. So those 3 right there, if you can't win 2 of those 3, then you're automatically looking at 7-5 at best, and that is assuming that you don't slip up again the rest of the way. So, again, because there are still enough issues with this team, and you're going to see a really good offense coming up this weekend. So I think you get to 8-4, go to a bowl game, you're feeling pretty good at the end of the season after the way it started.
Yeah, let me throw this question back at you. If would a USC, I haven't seen the new poll, but last time I saw last week they were ranked 7th already, which is kind of crazy. First of all, do you trade, assuming USC does what they're supposed to the rest of the season, will you trade a loss to Marshall for beating USC on the back end and what would be USC's kind of, this is their comeback year. This is a big year for them, and then I think I would trade that. I would trade beating USC because they're at home this year again. USC comes to South Bend. It's gonna be a big game, obviously.
No. It's in LA. It's in LA.
It's in LA. Sorry.
Yeah.
I got Stanford mixed up. I think they always rotate.
Right.
So to go to USC, beat them, Lincoln Riley, all these transfers, they're highly ranked. I would trade that for the loss against Marshall. What about you?
In a heartbeat. Because then again, you can if you, especially, like if you're not talking about you're like a 500 team and you knock off USC at the end of no matter what though, if you finish the season beating USC, the regular season, you're feeling good, even if you did happen to be a 500 team. But again, you Marshall is game 2, and then you've got everything building up to that. So right now, the mission of Marcus Freeman in this team is to prove that they can be better, a little bit better every week, and build up to something at the end of the season. So no doubt about it. If you beat USC at the end of the season, it completely now. Not for everyone. It's not going to completely erase the sting of Marshall because then people are going to be saying, well, we beat USC. If we could have only beaten Marshall, we should have beaten, all that kind of stuff.
Growing pains.
You're absolutely right. But yeah, I think that I think you beat USC at this point.
And at least
like going into the season, that's not a trade-off that you would have taken. But where you are right now, you've already lost to Marshall. That's a definite trade-off that I would take.
Okay.
Do you agree?
No, yeah, I agree. I think it takes at least half of that Marshall sting away. No matter like if you win, no matter what your final season record is, and you beat USC, I think it takes away half the sting of everything. And that's assuming USC is ranked high, and there's some serious things on the line for them on the back end as well.
It's a nice balm to slap on it at the at the end of the day. Little balm to slap on there. Fill in the blank. Since we're on the subject of Marshall losing to Bowling Green Saturday is blank.
Marshall losing to Bowling Green on Saturday is hilarious for a couple of reasons. I have a lot of friends that went to Bowling Green, and immediately I was getting calls because it was homecoming weekend down at Bowling Green. So a lot of my friends were there. I was immediately getting calls that Bowling Green is better than Notre Dame by, the transitive property. Marshall beat Notre Dame. Bowling Green beat Marshall. Therefore, Bowling Green is better than Notre Dame. So I thought it was kind of funny, especially last week we talked about, like, who does Marshall have left on their schedule? That might be a hiccup. Definitely wasn't going to be Bowling Green, in my opinion.
Brother.
So it's just quite comical. And, of course, it happens the week after, Notre Dame loses to Marshall. So to me at this point, the Marshall loss is just even more inexcusable, and it kind of made that even more painful, in my opinion.
And that's, like you say, it's hilarious. It's more embarrassing now when you look at it. The fact that, because you're going, okay, coming out of it, all everyone wanted to talk about was the 24 transfers that Marshall had and all this stuff that Huff had put together. And he's, showing what a great coach he is and, all this different stuff. And then you flip it around and they lay a huge egg to Bowling Green the next week. They can't even keep it going one more week. And it really stings now if you're Notre Dame to say that that's the egg that you laid. And then you turn around the next week, you lay that egg, and then that team can't even go on and win the next week. I mean, it's like back to the Tyrone Willingham era. And I'm not, or Charlie Weiss or whoever, where, it's like you're losing these games and then the teams that knock you off aren't even proving themselves to be legitimate teams themselves. You're just losing these games to random teams. So, again, it goes back to what we were just talking about. Now, if you're Marcus Freeman and you're Notre Dame, you have to show that that's not who we really were, that we had some issues when we played Marshall, but now they have to show that they can be a better team, a little bit better week after week as this season progresses. Because again, it's like, it's one thing if you're going to lose to Cincinnati last year, and then Cincinnati runs the table and goes to the college football playoff. And we were talking about last week, could Marshall be this year's Cincinnati? And the schedule sure seemed to set itself up like maybe that's what they exactly could be, but they're not. They're just another team, and that's what they turned out to be. So it's just, it stinks. It stinks.
Very stinky.
Yes. Does winning Saturday, wearing the green jerseys, Jesse, do you think that it ends the green jerseys are bad luck talk that we hear so much of?
It's crazy that this is even a conversation focal point, because I had a buddy texted me right before the game and said, "Uh-oh, Notre Dame's wearing green. You know what that means? They're gonna lose." And it's like, how do you even know about that? Like, you're not even a fan. What like I just can't believe that people associate green jerseys with losing. I'm hoping that it kind of cleared that air. It's never really about the jerseys themselves. Obviously, the players have to play and all the other stuff. But I think it's cleared, or maybe made some people feel a little bit more easy that the green jerseys aren't bad luck, in fact, and that they are just jerseys. But yeah, I'm hoping that it calms some of this uneasiness about the green jerseys, because I love the green jerseys and I wish that they would wear them multiple times a season.
I do too. I wish that they would wear them at least once a season. It has been 4 years since they last wore the green jersey prior to Saturday. You had to go all the way back to senior day in 2018, almost 4 full years. But they've won 5 consecutive games wearing the green jerseys.
I never known how they were the best. And it's like, the main thing I think the issue is that they always, when they would wear them back, over the past few years, they would always use them in the big games. So they would lose in the big games. And then it became controversial with the green, where the issue is just, no, it was a good opponent. And they wore the green jerseys just as like kind of like a promotional thing to get even more fans there because it was a big game.
Yeah. When you're in 2007 and you decide to break out the 1977 greens and you're playing USC, well, yeah, you're going to get railroaded wearing those greens. It's like you can wear all the green you want, but it's not going to be a good day. But like you go back to 2002 when they decided to bust them out against Boston College, and they, laid a huge egg in that one. That was really the beginning of the end for Tyrone Willingham, even though it took a couple more seasons, obviously, but, things started to backslide at the end of that year. So 2018, they wore them against Florida State and won. 2016, they wore them against Army and San Antonio and won. 2015, they wore them in Boston at Fenway, Boston College, and won. 2011, they wore them against Maryland and won in Washington, D.C. Now, here's my question, because 2011, they had white jerseys but green numbers when they lost at Michigan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does that count? Does that count as a green jersey game if they're wearing white with green numbers?
Primary color has to be green.
Okay, because I saw someone else do kind of an accounting of, here's all the games, here's the last however many games that they did it. Because remember in 2013, when they played in the Shamrock Series game down in Arlington, Arizona State, you and I were at that game. They were the all-white uniforms, some of the best Shamrock Series uniforms they've ever worn, with the gold helmet and the green outline of the Shamrock and all that stuff. But so it was white uniforms, gold numbers, but all the trim was in green as well, and they won that game because I saw someone count the 2011 loss at Michigan with white jerseys counting against the green tally. But if you count that, then you've also got to count the Shamrock Series in 2013 as a win, because even though they were white uniforms, the green was still really prominent.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I agree with that logic.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're in on that. Yeah, I don't think you can count when they're wearing the white as the green. I'd like to see them. I think it would be cool if they, like for the road uniforms, if they just went to green all the time for the numbers. I think that would be a cooler look with what they're doing.
Yeah, you know how much I enjoy the green. If they can find a way to sprinkle in it as much as possible, I think that's the best way to go. And yeah, the green face mask with the nice gold helmet is always a good look.
We're good. 1992 Sugar Bowl, before your time, Jesse, but the Jerome Bettis game against the Florida Gators when they came out with the white uniforms and the green numbers. I love it. I love the green. I've said before, I wish they would just do it once a year. Do what they did against Cal. Going into a season, you pick a game that doesn't necessarily have a lot of juice otherwise, and you say, this is going to be the green jersey game, and everyone wears green. I think it's good. I love it.
I'd have to agree.
All right. NFL. Which 0-2 team has the most hope this season to turn it around? The Bengals, the Titans, the Raiders, the Panthers, or the Falcons?
To me, this quickly came down to two teams, and that's the Raiders and the Bengals. And I'm going to have to go with, I think the Raiders have a better chance. The Bengals lost to Mitch Trubisky and the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then they turn around and lost to Cooper Rush and the Dallas Cowboys. Not great quarterbacks. Their offensive line still stinks. Burrow's getting sacked 6 to 7 times per game on average still this season in just 2 games. And the Raiders honestly lost 2 close games to 2 very good teams. They lost to the Chargers by 5 and then blew that lead against the Cardinals and lost in overtime. So I like the Raiders. I think they have a more formidable team. I like that, they have an offensive line. They have Devontae Adams. They have a good run game. Not to say that the Bengals don't have those things. I just think the Bengals' offensive line is still an issue, and you can't do a lot when you don't have an offensive line.
Well, they got to the Super Bowl without an offensive line last year.
Yeah, so, but Burrow to have his appendix taken out over the offseason. He had all different kinds of stuff. There's just when a quarterback got hit that many times, and then he goes in the offseason and has a pretty serious surgery, and then he's getting sacked 7 times per game the following season, it's just not good things. That's not winning football.
Yeah,
but the Bengals play in an easier division, so I think that's also has to be weighed into it because the Raiders play in a juggernaut of a division.
And that's the thing. The Raiders play in the toughest division of that group, and they also have Josh McDaniels as their head coach. And if they didn't have Josh McDaniels as their head coach, I would give them a lot more hope. But they have him, and I don't think he's a good head coach. He got another opportunity. We talked last week about being promoted to your level of incompetence, and I think Josh McDaniels has found his way back there. He was not a good head coach the first time in Denver, and I don't believe, just like most Bill Belichick assistants, I don't believe that it's going to work out for him. I think that there's a lot of talent. I like Derek Carr. I have no faith in Josh McDaniels. The Bengals, I think, are the best team, but like you said, like where they are, they're essentially where they were a year ago when they decided to draft Jamar Chase instead of an offensive lineman. They still have no offensive lineman. You've got one of the best young quarterbacks and best wide receivers in the best combination of those two in the NFL, but you still have no offensive line. The Titans are an interesting one to me. And
they're not good.
But they also play in the worst division of this group. I mean, we were sitting here, Vince and I, yesterday ripping on Frank Reich, and I really question Frank Reich as a head coach just based on the fact that he's found a way to lose to Jacksonville every year, no matter what he's got, no matter who his quarterback is. Granted, he's had these older quarterbacks at the end of their prime with Rivers and Ryan, but he also advocated for bringing in Carson Wentz. I give the Titans a chance just because they play in that division. They can beat, I guess you can't beat 500 anymore. They'll probably win that division with a 7-9 record. I like the Bengals out of that whole group just because I think it's more manageable for them and they've got the best collection of talent. You still got to figure out a way to protect Joe Burrow somehow, but that's who I like.
Somehow.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I think I saw they're going through it during the Cowboys game. I'm pretty sure that the Bengals had, of their starting Super Bowl offensive line, there's only one guy that remained the same. They replaced 4 guys, and they still have issues.
Yep. Here's a question for you. Would you rather have season tickets to your favorite team's games for the next 3 years or tickets to the next 3 Super Bowls? You can basically have season tickets to your favorite team's games for 3 years or Super Bowl tickets for the next 3 years.
I'm going to go with my favorite team for 3 years. That is, let's see here, 17-34. That's 51 games compared to 3 games. If my team isn't in the Super Bowl, I really don't like. I care, but I don't care. And so to say I could go to 51 Cowboys games over 3 Super Bowls that I might not care about, I think I'm taking the 51 games every day of the week.
Super Bowl tickets are hard to get, though. It's like you've never been to a Super Bowl. You've at least been to a Cowboys game before.
Yeah, I'll splurge that dough, though, when the Cowboys make it eventually. Then I can knock it both out.
Yeah, see, I lean toward the Super Bowl tickets because the resale for the Super Bowl tickets, because of how hard the Super Bowl tickets are to get, I figure I can go to one Super Bowl, so I can cross that off the bucket list. I can at least go to the Super Bowl once, and then I sell the next ones, the next two Super Bowls, and I've probably, I've made a pretty good chunk of money by selling those two. But at the same time, it is attractive to have the season tickets because that's something that doesn't come along very often either. I think I lean toward the Super Bowl tickets though because of what I could get out of them in the back end.
Makes sense. You could go to one Super Bowl, sell the tickets, and then buy maybe a full season of regular season tickets for another team. So you could pull it
And
off.
like Salty says, season tickets, and it would be like one thing if we lived in Dallas and you were actually there, but that's a lot of travel to try to get there for all those games as well.
It's a lot of travel, and you got to, factor in you're probably not going to sit there the whole game without drinking one beer, having one hot dog, having popcorn.
Exactly right.
So to buy all of that every game, it adds up,
That's
parking.
exactly right.
There's a lot of other things that go into it.
Here's a quote from Peyton Manning. Quote, "I'm the offensive coordinator on my son's sixth grade football team. We got beat in OT on Saturday. A couple of my players asked me why I ran the ball so much in the red zone. I think coaching in my future is also out because hearing that from a couple of sixth graders was tough." End quote from Peyton Manning. So Hall of Fame quarterback Peyton Manning is getting chirped at by his sixth grade team. Jess, you coached Little League Baseball over the summer. Did you get second guessed on your decisions by your Little League Baseball guys and girls?
Yeah, it was funny because I was coaching at the age 7 to 9, coach pitch. Not a lot of whole lot of talent quite yet, developing a lot of talent. But it's just it's funny because they will be like, well, why are we doing this? Or are you sure we want to do that? And I think the best question I got was, I had another coach on my team. I've told you about him before. He's a super nice guy, but not really all there baseball wise. Wasn't really super helpful of a coach. And one day I had a player come up to me. This was before practice, and he said, "Who's better, you or Coach David?" was his name. And I said, "Well, what do you think? I like have you've seen us out here." And then he said, "Well, let's see." And then he threw me batting practice, and I launched this ball like into the street, probably like at least 250 feet away. And his jaw was dropped, and he said, "Yeah, I think you're better at this point." I said, "Well, you might want to start listening to what I have to say after I just tanked that ball all the way out there."
That's right.
So it was all good fun, and I think that's going back to the Peyton Manning thing. It's just when something's not successful or something they're not successful right away, the immediate response is to kind of question them. I get what Peyton was doing. He didn't want to turn that ball over in the red zone. He just
That's
wanted
right.
to pound it in there. So it's all good fun. And I think that no matter what, especially at that kind of young of age, no matter what you do, everything's going to kind of be second guessed, and you just kind of have to roll with it, which I'm assuming that's exactly what Peyton did.
Doesn't matter what level of coaching you're at. It doesn't matter who you're coaching. You're always going to be second guessed by somebody. That is the name of the game. And even Peyton Manning found that out. I thought that was pretty funny. That Peyton Manning is out there getting second. Most of those guys probably don't even know who he is. They just see him as this big, tall drink of water out there coaching them. They have no idea probably that they're being coached by a Hall of Fame quarterback out there.
Speaking of, though, did you see the 30 for 30 with Eli, where he went to Penn State undercover?
I did.
Not a lot of people knew who he was.
What was it? Chad something?
Chad Powers.
Chad Powers. I just saw that
and they
this
put on
afternoon.
This makeup, and they did all this long-haired wig. He looked like he was like a throwback into the 70s.
He went to a walk-on tryout at Penn State University. And I'm wondering, it looked like the players didn't know who he was. I'm wondering, did James Franklin know?
Yeah, so they met beforehand. So James Franklin knew about it, but he was really the only person. I wanted to know, because there was a guy that was working out the quarterbacks the whole time, and I want to know if he genuinely didn't know it was Eli, because he kept making these comments about, wow, look at that. He's getting the ball out. Look at the footwork, look at the ball, all this stuff. And it's did you really think just a walk-on showed up. It's like, and it wasn't like Eli was playing at an amateur level. He was going out there.
He was zipping it.
Yeah,
That's
he
right.
was zipping the thing. And so I would genuinely be curious of like who knew and who didn't, because I think it would be funny to get one over on some of those guys. It's like, how do you? To me, the Mannings, no matter what you do, like their face and nose is just like immediate giveaway, and their foreheads. Like
that's true.
It's
they showed a
easy
profile.
to recognize them.
They showed a profile of Eli, and he's got a much beakier nose. Let's put it that way than what I thought that he had. It was very distinct. That's for sure. All right. Well, that is going to do it for tonight. Appreciate you coming on and joining us here tonight. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, rate, review, all that great stuff. We'll have a mailbag show coming up tomorrow. Plenty more shows, of course, coming up across the rest of the week. Jesse will be back Thursday, and when he comes back Thursday, we'll talk about some specific Notre Dame, North Carolina stuff, things to look forward to in that Notre Dame, North Carolina matchup. And, of course, we've got IB Countdown to kickoff Saturday morning. Vince and I will have it at 10 o'clock Saturday prior to Notre Dame and North Carolina. And it is a 3:30 kickoff this Saturday as well when Notre Dame travels to North Carolina.
Are they doing is Turn Back the Clock coming soon? Because that seems weird. They're going to start the game later and it's getting darker earlier, so it's going to be even darker during that game.
Yeah, we're like a month away from daylight saving time. So
all right.
I think it's because I can't remember if it's ABC or ESPN off the top of my head now. But yeah, so you basically
it's a road game. Okay.
Yeah. You got a different network involved. That's what that's all about.
All right,
Jess. Great stuff. I'll talk to you later this week.
Sounds good. See you guys on Thursday.
All right. Sounds good. IB Nation Sports Talk.